Ohio State plays Penn State this weekend. And this is, I think, the epitome of what I said earlier, that you've got number 2 playing number 13, a big Big Ten matchup between two programs, one that is ascending towards the national championship trajectory, one that kind of got knocked out of it, but is still trying to remain relevant in the conversation to finish in the top 10. But we both know inherently that this matchup is going to be so goddamn lopsided. Before we talk about that aspect of it, Sean, the one thing that's really complicated with Penn State is they're playing at home. This is a whiteout game at Beaver Stadium, and it's so goddamn hard for me to say, "Oh, Ohio State's going to blow them out at Beaver Stadium." And I don't know if I can totally say that because of how hard it is to play at Penn State.
Look. I would say differently if Penn State scored more than 14 points versus Michigan. If they gotten into the 20s versus Michigan, I would agree with you. I don't care about the home field advantage stuff. Obviously, college football does. I'm still learning more about college football. LSU was favored by 2 because they were at home last week versus Ole Miss. Ole Miss was ranked 7. It makes sense to me. I guess the home field advantage stuff is actually legit. Palpable.
It's way more in the NFL. And I, as you're saying, being newer to the landscape of college football, it's bizarre how much of an impact it has.
It's so stupid. I mean, I guess we're talking about dudes that were just in high school and still learning how to deal in those environments. I don't know if Penn State's going to get that rowdy. If they don't have a bid, They might have had a bid if they had a very close loss to Michigan and then beat Ohio State, something to cheer for, something to root for. Now, if the athletics department and the team wants to go out there and say, hey, we're going to play spoiler for these jokers from Ohio State, and we're going to beat them down. We need you guys all to show out so we can ruin their time because they've ruined us the last decade under James Franklin. We only have one win against them. Okay, fine, we do that. But I don't know how inspired I can be. I'm a very passionate fan. But when I lose inspiration for the team, I will still watch painfully and cheer when good things happen, but it's not the same type of environment. That's why the playoffs are so different in the NFL, because it's zero. Everyone's record is 0 going into it.
So the last time that these two teams were relevant, and I'm pulling this up now, they were both in top 15 contention in that sphere. And this was when Saquon Barkley was there, I believe.
Sure.
Was 2018. And I remember distinctly it was Miles Sanders. I remember distinctly riding on the bus during this game because I was aggressively attacking Matt Sawicki when this game was going on, because Ohio State almost lost. So Ohio State traveled to Beaver Stadium and they barely won 27-26. I think they climbed back into it. This was 3 versus 17. So this is actually kind of eerily reminiscent of that. And while I agree with you that Penn State's kind of out of it, but I don't think this team's that far off from the Miles Sanders, Trace McSorley offense that we see now with Sean Clifford and Singleton. Their redeeming quality is their offensive line right now. And that's it. And if their offensive line plays well, that's what's going to carry them. They've got a lot of holes on that roster, but I don't put it. All I'm saying is
I'm a Joey Porter Jr. fan, by the way. I think he's a day one pick.
Ryan hates him, and we're going to talk about him on the draft show.
Why does Ryan hate him? Because he's tall.
He says he's too grabby. That's the most draft.
Too grabby?
Too grabby. I want to get.
First of all, I like that terminology. Hate that analysis.
To my point, though, I am saying that I would not put it past Penn State just to come riled up, pissed off that they got embarrassed by Michigan, and 100,000 people in the stands wearing all white, just maybe getting to the head of Stroud. Wait, that's the stupid part. It's an early morning kickoff.
Yeah.
They blew it. Never mind. They blew it.
I think Dan and Pat were yelling about how the whiteout games at Penn State should only be night games. They only should. If you're doing some type of out game, Purdue does the blackout. When they started the season doing the blackout, night game looked sick. Different type of energy. It's a different type of energy. So if it's an afternoon game, whiteout, who cares? It's a beautiful autumn day. Who's getting riled up for that? There's no dude. It's so hard to be aggressive, to be aggro when it's gorgeous out and
Well,
you see the leaves and everyone's smiling and then you're like, oh, there's a nice family. Instead, you want to just be what do they call it now? Borg. I feel old, but the gallons blackout rage juice basically I think is what college students are doing.
Yes.
That is what you need a night game for. The Borgs aren't coming out on beautiful fall autumn days. They're not.
I think but you know who gets juiced up for autumn days? Sorority girls, blonde sorority girls, and there is a surplus of them at Penn State. So I don't know, man.
I thought they disbanded their Greek life.
I don't know.
But I understand your point. They did. I understand your point.
So, okay, here's where I sit. This is an early game. It's a whiteout. And as much as I don't want to, I'm always unwilling to just like hang my hat on the way that they played a few weeks ago in an important game. Like, I know that really means a lot. Here's what I will say. Ohio State wins, but I think Penn State covers. This is a typical, almost a trap game, not in the inherent typical sense, but it's a trap game in the sense where we're expecting Ohio State to blow them out. And I don't think that necessarily is going to happen. Give me Penn State to cover. I think it's more than possible. I don't know what the line is. I'm going to look it up in a second on Bet Online, but I think it's a possibility. I don't think we can necessarily rule this out. I think that that's possible. Like, I think that they could lose by 10 points. I think that's very likely to happen.
I see them. They could also lose by like 16. They could also lose 40-24.
I say,
I hate that 10, line. 10 points. I hate that I just told myself a score that I know will happen.
So what do you think? I think that they lose. I think that this is a close game, but Ohio State still wins.
Here's the thing: if Singleton for Penn State can really get going, this could be. Penn State running backs have a weird trait where in big games they decide, especially when they're like freshmen or sophomores, they decide to go nuclear. They decide this is the time where I put everybody on notice who I am, and I'm going to go in the first round or the second round at the very least. So this could be the game where we're looking at Singleton going, okay, starting off a little slow, 80-yarder. Start the second half. Oh, Penn State's still hanging around after that 80-yarder. Another 80-yarder. And then it's a big day. It could be a big day for him personally. I can't foresee it being a huge day for Penn State as a whole, though.
All right, so we agree to disagree because we agree that Ohio State wins, but you feel that
line. I hate that.
That is a horrible line. That is a horrible line.
Tease it to 17 if you're really going to be.
I think that line is the way it is because a lot of people are taking Ohio State.
Give me 17 and a hook. Actually, give me 17 and a hook.